So today's another really important milestone in the kind of development of BlueVia. Really excited to announce the partnership with BOKU. So James, I wonder if you could kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about BOKU as a company.
Sure, yeah, so I'm the Managing Director of BOKU in EMEA. And BOKU is a global mobile payments company. And we focus exclusively on operator billing. So that's where the consumer makes a payment and the charge ends up on their pre or postpaid mobile bill. BOKU's focus a lot on the online segment, so providing payment services for virtual goods merchants, digital goods merchants, and we're slowly extending our services into other marketplaces as well.
Okay, so for people that might not be familiar with BOKU, give us a little kind of flavour for the kinds of companies that you work with already. Yeah,
sure. So BOKU's integrated into about 1,000 merchants. And typically, these are merchants who are offering virtual goods or digital goods. So typically, virtual currencies and companies operating a freemium business model.
Right.
And what that means is that the consumer gets the application for free, and then they buy, using a virtual currency, additional attributes, lives, features of the game, additional levels to move up to a higher level in the game, maybe to speed up their gameplay.
Yeah.
So we work with companies like Electronic Arts, Facebook, and a range of other companies to support that business model.
Okay. So I think it's clear that BOKU have an enormous amount of experience in this part of the industry. So tell me a little bit about how the integration with BlueVia kind of looks to the developer.
One of the things that BOKU is really focused on is enabling mobile payments across a range of different user interfaces. So BlueVia has already launched a range of APIs, whether that's the location of the consumer. And what BOKU's now doing is adding payments as another API into the BlueVia service.
Yeah.
So whether the consumer is accessing the developer's service via their mobile device, via a tablet device, via an interactive TV, or via the web, what we're doing now is adding payments and the BlueVia capabilities to add more context to the transaction and enabling the developer to monetize the service more effectively across a range of different consumer interfaces.
So, you know, we spend a lot of time talking about the technology because that's the fun, new, cool stuff. But why don't we spend a little bit of time talking about, you know, the end user, the customer, the people that are actually paying for these services? How does BOKU help them?
When we started BOKU a couple of years ago, one thing we really understood was the ubiquity of mobile payments. And what that means is that virtually any consumer that has a mobile device can pay using their mobile device. But what we didn't really understand is how users would use the service in different markets around the world and how that would differ. So a couple of years in, we've launched our payment service in 65 countries. We've processed hundreds of millions of dollars of transactions. And what we've seen is the consumer behaviour breaks down into primarily two types. And the benefits to the consumer is in two areas. One is in more developing marketplaces. The behaviour is around enablement. Consumers are being provided with a payment mechanism that allows them to pay, where previously they couldn't pay or weren't able to pay. And that's the case for countries like in Latin America, for example. Alternatively, conversely, in more developing markets, it's about ease of use. Mobile is the simplest way for consumers to pay online. So in Western European markets like Germany or Spain or the UK, the consumer purely needs to remember their mobile telephone number, not fill out long credit card forms or remember their PayPal password. And they can use mobile instantly to provide a very easy way to pay online.
So if I'm a developer and I'm listening to this, I'm kind of thinking, well, I've got credit card payment that is working for me okay today. You know, why would I bother with BOKU's API through BlueVia?
Even if you look at the top 36 countries in the world in terms of personal consumer expenditure, still 75% of transactions are made with cash. Credit card penetration is markedly lower in all marketplaces than mobile penetration. There are probably around 900 million Visa credit cards in the world, whereas there are nearly 6 billion consumers who have a mobile phone which they can make payments with. And what that means is that for those two consumer use cases I spoke about, ease of use and enablement, what that primarily does for the merchants is it drives incremental revenue. So it means that in Europe we're seeing 20 to 30% of transactions via our online merchants are made using mobile payments. In Latin America, that can be as high as 80 or 90% of transactions being made by mobile payments. And that's incremental revenue coming from new users who previously couldn't pay or weren't able to pay or were reluctant to go through the friction of going through a laborious credit card process. In addition to that, merchants are finding that mobile is a very simple way to integrate payments into their website or their in-app billing. What BOKU provides is a single contract, a single technical API, and a single set of rules, which means the merchants can integrate in a matter of hours and have incremental revenue and mobile payments up and running.
So I think maybe a good way to summarise all of that is the BOKU integration into BlueVia. It just makes it simpler for our developers to make money. It's giving them new ways to kind of build customers and open up markets that don't currently have access to, you know, credit cards and other payment capabilities. So I guess the next stage for our developers is go to BlueVia.com, check out the API documentation and start integrating.
Yeah, that's right, and looking forward to working with Telefonica BlueVia on this partnership.
Fantastic.